So welcome again to GUTS in the virtual community. This event is essentially a continuation of what we've started since 2017. We'll provide more information about GUTS and to share the mission of the GUTS, but just wanted to provide some background. Back in 2017, we started going to various community outreach events in the DC area, face-to-face. And of course, in February, we had to place it on a halt. But that didn't allow us to stop. What we were able to do is and then shift and pivot into the virtual space, which we all are accustomed to at this point. And so our goal is to have these virtual events every fourth Tuesday of every month. And essentially, we will invite researchers to come and talk about their research, as well as various health concerns that you may have. And so if you have any topics that you would like to hear experts discuss, feel free to drop it in the chat. Also, you may contact us via email, the email that we sent the registration link with. We are also on Facebook, so follow us on Facebook, GUTS Community. During this session, the lines will be muted. However, if you have any questions, feedback, or comments, feel free to drop it in the chat. You may also, if you're joining via audio only, you may also text us at 301-909-8135. Again, that's 301-909-8135. If you don't have access to Zoom or text message, you may also reply to the email and with which you received the link. So again, we're here to provide background information. I'll introduce the moderator at this point. And before I introduce the moderator, this is a huge collaborative effort by GUTS. And again, Dr. Williams will provide information about the GUTS team. However, we are here and this is the team members who have created the GUTS in the virtual community initiative. So with that, I would like to introduce our moderator for tonight. Our moderator for tonight is Dr. Carla Williams. She's an associate professor of medicine and public health at Howard University College of Medicine. She is also the interim director at Howard University Cancer Center. Her work centers around understanding and reducing cancer-related health disparities, and she works with community leaders to promote individual adoption of healthy lifestyle behaviors, as well as population-level changes in the environment, health policies, and health systems. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Williams. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Emily, and good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to serve as moderator for this first ever GUTS in the Virtual Community event. So we'll go ahead and get started if we can pull up the next slide. Neither myself nor our guest speaker, Dr. Siham Mahgoub, have any disclosures in terms of conflicts of interest to disclose today. So our theme for tonight and the ongoing initiative, and it's always been our theme within our program, is about having dialogues, having conversations, having two-way discussions, where we're not only sharing information from our research activities, but listening to our community stakeholders and understanding what's important to them and making sure that we understand what the community sees as priorities and that we begin to integrate that directly into our research. So the title of our discussion tonight, Let's Talk About It, I think is very appropriate. So we've kind of formatted this as a Q&A. We will start off with some questions that we thought might be of interest. But as Emily said, throughout the evening, please feel free to use the chat function, which you'll find typically at the bottom of your screen if you're online. And I will repeat the numbers for text messaging if people prefer to interact via text message. We definitely want to hear from you this evening and find out what's on your mind. And hopefully we can answer some of your questions, but we also always want to make sure that we're providing accurate information. So if there's something that we can't quite answer, we'll put that, as we say, in the parking lot and provide information once we find the right answers for you. So tonight we have a few things on our agenda. We want to tell you about who we are and our funny name. We'll tell you about us and some things that we do. And then I will hand it off to our guest speaker, Dr. Mahgoub, and she'll talk more specifically about the main focus of our work, which is clinical trials, and a specific trial that we hope will be of interest to you tonight, the vaccine trial that's going on here right now at Howard University. So who are we and what in the heck is a GUTS? So our name stands for those of you who aren't familiar, the Georgetown Howard University's Center for Clinical and Translational Science. And yes, it is pronounced GUTS. And as you see here, we kind of try to use that to think about ways why such a name would be impactful and important. And so we do sometimes use the phrase, it does take guts to make a difference, and it takes guts to make a change. And we know that the many people who participate in research are really, as I always say, the heroes of science, because they're the ones who actually make the research possible. So we know that it takes guts to step up to volunteer to be a research participant. Our program is a partnership, as you can see, between the 5 institutions. It includes Georgetown and Howard Universities, as well as the MedStar Health Research Institute, the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, which actually is located in Tennessee, and the DC Veterans Administration Medical Center. So within the 5 institutions, we've created a broad partnership with a focus on transforming the process of research. Our goal is to make sure that researchers and their communities and the health systems that we work in and work with can work faster and better together, so that we can find better cures, better treatments, better ways to prevent disease, and get those innovations out to the people who can benefit from them as quickly and safely as possible. One of our goals is always to make sure that we're sharing information to all of our stakeholder groups. So we want to make sure that all communities have the opportunity to be aware of the research that we're doing, be aware of the benefits that research may be bringing to them personally in terms of their own health conditions, and of course be aware of opportunities where they can actually participate in research. And we do have a focus within our collaboration on populations that may have not had the opportunity to participate in research as much, or may not have been as well represented as they should have been. We know many years ago, research didn't really reflect much diversity at all. Research was often done with groups of young, healthy, often white, often male. And we know that there are differences that are affected by gender. We know that there are differences affected by age. We know that the way that people live, work, where they learn, where they interact in their communities can make a difference in aspects of their health status. We want to make sure that individuals with disabilities have absolute equal access to participate in any research study that they're interested in. And likewise, language. People who have different language needs or preferences for how they communicate, it's important that they have, ample opportunities and equitable opportunities to be in research studies as well. So our program has always had a focus on these populations and the research that can impact them. So throughout the evening, we'll be referring to some resources and references that you might be interested in. Here are 3 web-based resources that you might want to know about. The first one is called Research Match, and it's a national registry where people who are interested in different types of research topics can list themselves on a registry. And if a study comes up that they may match, that's why it's called Research Match, they'll receive typically an email, and that email will describe the study to you, invite you to learn more, and if you decide to participate, tell you how you can enroll. Many of the studies done on Research Match are done virtually through surveys, or perhaps formats like where you can do an interview by phone or over the internet, such as we're doing tonight. So even if a study is being done somewhere across the country, people wherever they live may still have the opportunity to participate. So we'll be sharing all these links. And if you have not signed up for the Research Match Registry, we certainly encourage you to do so. GUTS, through the work that this team has done, has a partnership website called We Partner for Research. And this is specifically to tell people about clinical trials that are ongoing within our center, and to provide links to resources where people can learn more about the trials, learn how to sign up, and learn more about the research process. An important point is to make sure that people understand the research process before they're even, asked or invited to participate in a study, because we want people to be able to ask, any questions that they need to ask to get all the information they need to make an informed choice about participation. So this website is chock full of useful information, frequently asked questions, even some video and other media content to help people learn more about research. And then finally, we have a newly built website called Let's Talk About Clinical Research. And it was created in response to the plethora of news that we've all been hearing since the start of the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic. And so probably every night, if you turn into any newscast, you're going to hear some update coming from some COVID-related research. And so we knew that people would start hearing more and more terminology that might not be familiar. So we wanted to demystify those terms, have a place where information could be easily defined and people could understand the types of things that they might be hearing in the news and in various reports over the past year or so now. So again, these links are going to be placed into the chat, and we will provide at the end information where you can go back and get all the information that we're sharing tonight, including a recording of this seminar. So I'll just start with a couple of questions. Again, we want this to be a dialogue. We want it to be a discussion. So I'll be monitoring the chat. Please do put your questions there. And as a reminder for those who have joined us, if you would like to submit a question or contact our team by text message, that number is 301-909-8135. 301-909-8135, and you can submit questions to that via text message. If you got the email to sign up tonight, if you prefer to send a message via email, you can do that also, or of course continue to use the chat, and we'll be looking for your questions throughout the evening. So again, it's a Q&A format dialogue. So the first question we're asking is, what is research? Just to make sure we're all grounded in a shared understanding of what we mean by research. And so this is kind of one of the basic and most simplest ways to define it. When we do health research, it's a process of testing new ideas and treatments. And the goal of any research in the health field is to find ways to either prevent, treat, diagnose, or cure an illness. And so there's a systematic way that these activities are done to assure that we get good answers to the question. So many times people will, say that they found information that they researched, but we want to make sure that when someone says they have found information based on research, that it was done in a way to where we can know that we have confidence that that answer is accurate. And so there's some things that you'll hear tonight that are some of those ways that give us more and more confidence that the answers that we get are accurate, and we understand to whom those answers apply and to whom those answers may not apply. So research definitely has benefits. What kind of benefits can research offer? Well, health research in particular, medical research is how we've been able to advance treatments of diseases like the area in which I work, cancer, area of diabetes, and many others. So if you've had yourself or any family member who has undergone any medical treatment, which hopefully helps to improve their health, there is a really good chance that the medical treatment or ways of preventing diseases was based on some prior research. Research does take, an extensive amount of time, because it takes time to develop the approaches, to test them out, and then to get them into the community and learn more about how they work once everybody starts to use these new methods and new treatments. But those are the benefits that we're trying to gain, are to get better and more effective treatments to those who need them most. And so when people participate in research, they're actually helping not only potentially themselves, because it may get an individual access to a more advanced treatment, but of course they're helping others. And that's what people often tell me, is that the reason that they want to participate in research is that they can help someone else in the future. So I talked early on about diversity and the importance of inclusion, diversity, and representation in research. So this is a quote from the Washington Post, I believe, I'm not sure the date, but you can see here, and I'll read it for you. This is a quote about the importance of diversity in research. There's a growing recognition within the Black community that its members can't be absent from clinical trials and expect medicine to work as well for them as it does for other populations. We have to be included. Enlightened companies are ensuring that that's taking place today. And so among Black communities, among any communities that have not been well represented, it is absolutely true that they have to be included. We have to be included. Research has to represent the range of experiences that we all have, the different combinations of health conditions that we all live with, the different environments in which we all live, the different access points and what's really feasible for us. You know, if we're bringing new medical treatments, they have to be things that people can use safely, and people can use according to the recommended practices. And so in order to assure that things will really work when they get into what I call the real world, when they get out to where we live, how we live, the complexity of our lives, we have to have people who represent that during the research so that we can understand what works and what doesn't. And so inclusion and representation are key. And it is true that we're seeing more and more changes in how research is done to assure that that inclusion is happening. So with this, I'm glad to hand over the podium, virtual podium that is, to a wonderful colleague of mine, a woman I can't say enough about. She is the consummate every woman and a colleague here at Howard University, Dr. Siham Mahgoub. Dr. Mahgoub is a medical doctor and serves as assistant professor here at Howard University. She attends on our infectious disease division. Of course, she teaches students. She runs her own research studies, and she is playing an absolute instrumental role as our primary investigator on an ongoing trial for a new COVID vaccine. And so as lead physician for that study, I'm proud to present Dr. Siham Mahgoub, and she will talk to you about how one shot can change the pandemic, the COVID-19 vaccine study. Dr. Mahgoub?
Good evening. Thank you very much, Dr. Williams, for the nice introduction. It's wonderful working with you as well. It has been a great team at Howard. And it's my pleasure tonight to be the guest for the virtual GUTS community. So let's talk about clinical research and what are the phases of clinical trial. I'm sure now in the news you're hearing vaccines under emergency use authorization, and they are phase 3. So it's very important to understand how the phases, what are these phases. So before a vaccine or any drug reaches phase 3, they have to go through several steps. The first one is phase 1, which will include 20 to 100 healthy volunteers. This is when they check the safety of a vaccine or a drug. Phase 2, then they go to a slightly bigger number, 100 to 300 patients. And here again, they check the efficacy, like how good will this vaccine or drug work. And also they look at safety. And then they go to phase 3. So as you see, the numbers are slowly increasing. So in phase 3, which was the phase we are right now with all the vaccines, is 300 to 3,000 patients. And again, they are checking efficacy, like how good the drug or the vaccine works, and safety. So as you can see, there's always safety, because it's very important in a clinical trial to look at the safety, because you want to make sure it's the #1 priority in any clinical trial. Then there is the regulatory submission. So they review all these documents that were provided by the clinical trial. So this is reviewed by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and then that's how you get the emergency use authorization or approval by the FDA. And then you have phase 4. So this is after everything is approved by the FDA. So this is what's called the post-marketing approval. And then they start doing surveillance studies. So what's the usual starting point for research with real people? So like we said, so that was the diagram that we just looked at. So in phase 1, it's focused on monitoring the safety of the treatment, or right now, the vaccines. They identify if there are any side effects, and it's usually a small number because you're just starting the trial. So that will be like 10 to 80 participants, and this will take several months to a year. Okay, so what happens in phase 2 research? So phase 2, they are trying to see the dose. So what's the dosing regimen? They evaluate if the new treatment is efficacious, so meaning if it's gonna work well, and how long should the treatment last. And this will include 100 to 300 participants and several months. So the duration of the clinical trial will be several months to 2 years. So this is just repetition of that first slide that we have shown you. So you can see that the number of participants slowly increasing in the phases. So then we come to phase 3 research. So as you all know, we have, for example, now 2 vaccines approved emergency use authorization by the FDA, which is the Moderna and Pfizer. So they completed phase 3, and that's how the Food and Drug Administration gave the emergency use authorization. So what does a trial in phase 3 do, or what are we looking for? So we're starting to establish the efficacy. We compare, there might be comparison to other treatment, and we start having more participants in the trial. So it will be 1,000 plus, and it can last up to several years. Mostly in vaccine trials, it can be up to 2 years, even if the FDA approves the vaccine. We're still looking and monitoring these participants over 2 years to see if there are any late adverse events or side effects. So why keep studying a treatment after it has been approved? So this is what we call phase 4. So this phase takes place after the new treatment has been approved by the FDA, by the Food and Drug Administration. Like I said, because there are something called short-term safety and long term. So the short term, you kind of people are looking at that, and the FDA is looking at that in the short term until they give the emergency use authorization. And then we continue to monitor these participants very closely to identify if there is any long-term safety, like after several months or several years. So you monitor the side effects with either a medication or condition. So like I said, you have heard about the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine. There is AstraZeneca in United Kingdom. It's not approved yet in the US. And there is, so Novovax is kind of the 5th vaccine in the pipeline. So Novavax is a phase 3. So just remember what's phase 3. Phase 3, this is like we have thousands and thousands of participants. So we are very fortunate to be the only site in the District of Columbia and Virginia. It's a clinical trial for the COVID-19 vaccine at Howard University. So one of you or some people might say, I have never heard of Novavax as a company. Is it a new company? So Novavax has been working on new vaccines for about 10 years. They focus on vaccines for older adults more than children. So this company is in Maryland. The current vaccine has also been tested in UK. Like I said, they're just finishing their trial in the United Kingdom, about 15,000 in the whole UK, and South Africa and Australia. So this current study is being done in the US and Mexico. There are around 101 sites. And like we said, Howard University is one of those sites. So why be in a study if the vaccines are already available? Like, you know, this might be a question to all of you, like Pfizer vaccine has been emergency use authorized, and Moderna and all the states, DC, including District of Columbia, are working very hard to vaccinate healthcare workers. And now they have rolled that out to people who are 65 and older. So, so why have more vaccines? So we need to have enough safe and effective vaccines for all over around the world and the globe, because just remember that COVID just did not affect the US. It's affecting everywhere. As we speak, the cases are rising in the UK, in Europe, in the Middle East. It's like all over. So if we just do vaccines to vaccinate the people in the US, how about the people outside the US? Because now the world is like a village, you know, people come in and out. So everyone has to be vaccinated. We can't just be thinking about the US. We have to think about everyone. If people are eligible to get a vaccine now, they should not enroll in the study. And this is what we have been doing at Howard. We have been contacted by people who are 65 and older. So we're telling them your turn is coming very soon. So we don't want to enroll you in the study, because if you get the chance to get the vaccine, the Pfizer or the Moderna, it's going to be very difficult for you to continue in the study. So it's very important to have more vaccines now, because people in the community who are not healthcare workers, who are not first responders, who are not 65 and older, they might not be able to get the vaccine until March, April, or even maybe after. So this could be like a great chance for someone to be in the trial and get the study vaccine. So who should consider the study? So anyone who is age 18 through 55, who may have to wait until April for a chance to get a vaccine. I had one of my patients today in the clinic. He's in his 50s, and he said he has been calling all over DC to get the vaccine. So I explained to him about the study, and he's very excited to enroll in the study. He was just very grateful that this is happening at Howard. So it made him happy, made me happy. So frontline workers who are not being offered the vaccine by their employers, I know a lot of employers are now offering the vaccine. For example, a lot of schools are offering that to their teachers, because most of the governors want to reopen the school, so they want the teachers to be protected before they come back to school. Gig workers, private care workers, people who work in restaurants or do the, live in crowded situations, work in crowded situations. So all these people can be candidates for the study. Younger female members with elders at home, because we all know that our elderly in the US or around the globe have been affected the most, have been the people who have been in the ICU, still on ventilators, or you cannot find ventilators for them. So we want to protect our elderly. And the only way we can do this is our young people get vaccinated, because remember that people can be carrying the virus. and they can still transmit it to their elderly. So this worries a lot of the scientists and the researchers. So you need to vaccinate the young people so they don't, because they're living with the elderly people. So who cannot be in the study? If you have high blood pressure or diabetes, but your doctor tells you that your blood pressure is controlled, your diabetes is controlled, we can enroll you in the study. But if your blood pressure is not controlled, your diabetes is not controlled, it's really important that these people check with their primary care, make sure that these conditions are controlled before they get in the study. If someone is currently getting medications that will affect your immune system, for example, cancer, chemotherapy. But let's say there is, I always give the example of a breast cancer survivor. So if a woman is a breast cancer survivor, she had all her chemo, her mastectomy, and her oncologist tells her that everything is fine, she's not taking any therapy, she can be a candidate for the study. Unfortunately, if I get a lot of calls about people who had COVID, these people, we cannot enroll them in the study. Whereas if the vaccine, if the Pfizer or Moderna becomes available to them, they can get the Pfizer or Moderna, but not our study vaccine, the Novavax. If someone had, if they received the vaccine in the past week. So for example, today also I had a patient who needed the COVID vaccine and also needed the flu shot, but he had received the flu shot before the COVID vaccine. So we are enrolling him in this. We are recruiting him for the study, but he has to wait a week before he can get the study vaccine. So what happens in the study? So you will be welcomed by our great staff in our clinical research unit on the 4th floor at Howard University Hospital. They will take good care of you. They will provide you with an informed consent. So consent, we can't do anything with the participants before signing the consent. And we give the participants enough time to read the consent, ask all the questions they want to ask about the study. So they get a nasal swab and blood test for COVID. They get health checks. They check their blood pressure, their heart rate, and their oxygenation. They get a short survey, and then so there are 2 visits. They get the screening visit, and then the next visit they get the injection, the COVID shot. So what happens in the study? So let's say 3 people show to our clinical research unit. So 2 out of the 3 will get the vaccine, and then 1 out of the 3 gets the placebo. So what's the placebo? The placebo is just basically like a saline injection. The participant is blinded, and the investigator and some of my nurses are also blinded, meaning that you don't know what you got. You don't know if you got the vaccine or the placebo. And that's very important for the study because we don't want any bias. Because let's say if I know the participant got the vaccine, then if the participant says anything, then right away I will think that, okay, because he got the vaccine, and that's why we have to be blinded. It's 2 shots, so 21 days apart, so 3 weeks apart. We follow these participants very closely for 2 years. So what happens in the study? The first month you come in, like I said, you're welcomed by the staff in the clinical research unit. You get your first injection, and then after 21 days, you get your second injection. Then on the second month, there is a follow-up visit, so we can check on you and make sure everything is okay. In 3 to 6 months, there will be a follow-up visit 2 to 3 times. And then the 7th month to the 24th month, there will be a follow-up visit for 4 to 6 times. So when you present the first time to our clinical research unit, we have a staff that will provide you with a device, kind of like a phone. They will ask you if you have your phone, if you're able to download that app. Or if you don't have a smartphone, we will provide you with the phone or the device, which only works. It has specific. It can only work with this app. It doesn't do anything else except this app. And the reason is because we want to track the symptoms after you get the shot. if you get a fever, swelling around the area where you received the shot, if you get any symptoms. So this tracker will, any information that you put in that tracker will appear on an electronic screen that myself and my staff were following that very closely. And also we have a phone number. It directly, the Google number directly gets to my phone, my cell phone, and I call the participants if they have any questions. So how will we know if the Novavax vaccine is effective? So after getting both doses, the people who got the active vaccine are less likely to get symptoms of COVID-19. So that's a question that we are asking with this study. Are these people less likely to be hospitalized or need treatments like ventilator? Do people who get the vaccine show high amounts of antibodies in their blood? Because the whole idea is when you get the vaccine, we want to protect you. How will the vaccine protect you? By helping your body produce antibodies. So then just think about it is that this is your immune system is getting prepped and ready in case you get an infection. Then your immune system is so well prepared that your immune system already had seen that part of the virus. So right away it will attack the virus, and then you don't get severely sick or ill or be in the hospital. So what the Novavax trial can add, we are adding people who have medical comorbidities. Like I said, we're adding people who have high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, but they have to be stable. So this usually doesn't happen in a lot of trials. High risk exposure groups, like people who work the hard jobs, the construction workers, the people who do deliveries, the people who work in restaurants, the people who just work in condensed areas. And we are trying to increase participant diversity. Like this trial was given to Howard so that we can enroll people of color, Black, Brown, Latino, minorities, because it's very, very important. If you want to know if a vaccine works in your race or ethnic background, you want to make sure these people are very well represented in that study. So what's the project timeline? Like I said, we were started on December 28th, and they gave us until February 8th for recruitment, to call people to come in, sign up for the study, and they get their 2 injections. Between February and April, this data will be analyzed by the Food and Drug Administration, and then there's going to be a long-term follow-up for 2 years through 2022. So when will the placebo group get a real vaccine? So remember in that slide, I told you that 3 people come to the clinical research unit. 2 will get the vaccine, 1 will get the placebo with just a saline injection. But then the great news is that the placebo group might at the end get also the real vaccine, which is really nice. But this is under the review of the FDA. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is still reviewing that amended protocol. And we think the decision is expected by March. So we have a mobile clinical trial unit, as you can see. Inside this unit, it looks exactly like a clinic. So there is a waiting area, there is an exam room, there is a sink, there is an area where they can draw blood. So we're very fortunate to have that at Howard. As we speak, it's parking in our parking lot. And I just heard that tomorrow morning, we're going to have that unit right in front of Howard University Hospital. We're going to do our first screening in the mobile unit. So the appointments are required, and when scheduling your appointment, you may have the option to select a mobile location near you. We're trying to have these unit in the community, in different churches, in their parking lots. The study visits also, like I said, take place at the Howard University Hospital in our clinical research unit. So to learn more about the clinical trial at Howard, please call 202-865-7743, 202-865-7743, and someone will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Also, you can go to www.coronaviruspreventionnetwork.org. And when you get there, you should put, you can put the Howard site, which is HOW, which is HOWU. And this is the flyer we're using in the hospital and giving away to people. For example, I have some of my patients who are participating and they want to spread the word to their family, friends, and coworkers. So I'm giving them these flyers. So in the flyer, it's basically, it lists for you who we're trying to enroll, people who are 18 and older, people who have underlying medical conditions, people that you think have great chance of being exposed at the job, people who live or work in an elderly care facility, people who are, here we have in the flyer 65 and older, but then we didn't know that it's going to be available, the Pfizer and Moderna is going to be available for 65 and older. People who work in jail or in prisons, and of course, people of racial and ethnic groups that have been impacted the most. So think about it is that all over the US and in other parts of the world is that the people who are minorities, people who are like me and you, people who are Black, Brown, Latino were hit hard. These were the people who were very sick in the ICU. These are the people who died. So the only way out of this is prevention, because we all know that treatment is not great, and the only way is a vaccine so that we can protect ourselves and others who we live with, work with, can be protected as well. With that, I think this is I think it's my last slide. Okay, so yeah, so thank you very much.